Hello.
What's up?
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
So we have Claire L. Evans, Jonna Bechtold, and Robert Key Sweater. How's everyone doing today?
Pretty good.
Great.
Thank
Yeah.
you all for coming out here.
Yeah, we're excited to be here. This is super weird.
But so the future will be cooler. That's a very bold statement. And coincidentally or not, I think it was 2 weeks ago was the month or the day in Back to the Future 2 that it really was. And you'll note we don't have self-lacing shoes or hoverboards or anything. And so clearly the actual future we have is bullshit. But the album is actually a lot deeper than that. What was going on in your mind and why did you choose that title?
Yeah, I mean, the title isn't so much about hoverboards and self-lacing sneakers, although that's convenient from a marketing standpoint. It's really much more about, well, in the way that all science fiction is really about the present. This is kind of a science fiction record about the present and about the past conception of what the future would be and what it has turned out to be, both in the context of like art and the way art is disseminated and produced, and larger socio-political issues. I mean, there are references in this song to police violence and drone warfare, targeted drone killings, and a lot of totally unfun things, because for us, hoverboards are irrelevant if we can't function as a society.
And it's interesting because there's two different theories about technology. Is like, do you feel technology makes us dumber and more inhumane, or just exposes us for what we really are and shows how little we have evolved compared to how quickly our phones are evolving?
Dumber, I don't know. I think that's a very reactionary thing, and it's very trendy to be like, unplug, but that's not going to fix anything really, because we can't unplug. Like, we cannot. We can't live offline anymore. The entire infrastructure of our society will collapse. So it's more about how do we move forward in a positive way and try to remember the value of connection that goes beyond just, likes and retweets, etc.
Have you enjoyed the heart button today that replaced the fave button on Twitter?
I am not a fan of the heart button. Why?
I like it just as an icon. I think it's prettier.
I just don't get why Twitter would need to conform in that way.
Make it even more friendly. Make it more about the feels.
I liked the heart because
They're
it was
going for
like
it.
you like something and you're like, you're a star, like you're a star. It was better than just I like it. It was like a validation of the tweet as an object.
Wait. Did you say that every time you favorited someone's tweet?
No,
You're
but
a star.
Remember
Were
when
really
you used to
saying that?
like favorite and it would like animate the little star? There was a moment in
Sure.
time,
Yeah,
like
it
2
would burst.
iterations of Twitter ago where it did that. I liked that. Fireworks.
So let's take it back a little bit. How did you two first meet? Because Yacht originally started as a spinoff from your band, The Blow,
Kinda.
and that's before. So you started before she was in. How did this
Yeah.
all come about?
Rob and I were actually on tour together. Rob plays as solo as Bobby Birdman, and Yacht
true.
used to be just me. And the two of us were on a U.S. tour together, and one of our last shows was in Los Angeles when we played a gallery show. And Claire, at the time, we didn't know each other, was in a noise band, and her noise band opened up for Yacht and Rob. And so, yeah, it was like at first sight, and we decided to, be friends and collaborators.
We collaborated together for many years under different names until I joined Yacht officially in 2008. The thing about the history of Yacht is that it could be like 9 bands, really, if you look at the first Yacht records, even the last Yacht record versus this one. I mean, we could have shuttered, renamed, and started again every single time. We have different lineups regularly. But we like the sense of continuity of having your entire creative historical record available under one name. I think it makes for like I don't know, it's like it has a vulnerability. It's like we can't just change our names as people when we decide that we're done with one identity. Like we have to move forward and take the past with you and, be okay with that.
Yeah, it's a real contemporary trend for artists to kind of, create a whole new identity for something that they feel like doesn't fit their brand. And I feel like there's way too much focus on one's own personal brand when it comes to making art. And so if we're going to, I think anything that we do, we're going to call it Yacht no matter what. I like that idea.
Continuity.
And now, speaking of different versions of the band, your last full-length album, 2011, writes Shangri-La. And since then, the band has picked up a move from Portland to Los Angeles. And at the same time, from there, you got into a bigger label. You're working with like outside producers like Jack Knife Lee, who worked with like Snow Patrol and Block Party, Justin Mendel Johnson, who's worked with M83s and Beck's band. And the result is like a great album. It's definitely your most direct, accessible pop album that you can dance to. But at the same time, you're making songs like War on Women and talking about police brutality. Was this kind of like, did moving to LA at all make you a bit more apt to just kind of go for it and like try to reach more people on their terms in a pop music way?
That's an interesting. I don't think there's a relationship between those two things. I think our move to LA just coincided with us kind of just growing older and more like having a clearer vision about what we want to do, having tried many different things in the past. We've always had what? I'm sorry.
I was just going to say also, and just being to almost every major city in the world and then deciding that Los Angeles is the best.
Ooh, shots fired.
New York, what's up? No,
Damn.
but
Leave.
for us, for us.
For our needs.
Yeah.
No, we've always had a relationship. Like we've always really cared about creating a distinction between our lyrics and our music. We've always tried to make pop records with difficult or confusing or alienating or art, lyrics that are in opposition to the sound of the music. I think we've just gotten better at making pop records, but we're still writing weird lyrics, and we always will.
And also, this was the first time that we wrote with Rob from the ground up.
Yeah.
'Cause Rob's always been a collaborator, but it's always been like, help us polish this turd that we just made, the two of us, or just me on my own. And this time it was we created turds together.
Aww.
It's true. It's my fault.
Because Portland
As
sort of has a reputation if you can go there and hang out and it's cool, everyone's just happy to do whatever, and like there's not like it's a very friendly place. Whereas Los Angeles is a bit more hustle and bustle, and you're striving to even make it.
Yeah.
Is there more of an attempt here to kind of like, are you trying to reach beyond the yacht fans you already have to reach new people here?
Yeah, totally. I mean, we want to reach everybody, as many people as we can. That's the goal.
Without changing what we do, though.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, we want to present the best and most distilled version of ourselves to the world. And we've always operated with this mentality that, like, everything that we receive in the 21st century, we tend to receive through a 2D plane of LED. And it doesn't really matter, like, who's behind that plane. It can be, like, a team of marketing people and, it could be, like, graphic designers with tons of training and great software, computers or whatever, making something that looks good. And as long as the end product is good and it's polished and it feels, like, authentic and cohesive, then you can kind of transcend a lot of things. And I think that, we've always been trying to do that.
Yeah, and still, while we worked with Jackknife and Justin on the record, it was still completely under our control, and we still did everything.
We're still super uptight, is what he's saying. Really uptight.
Yeah.
Now, when you're obviously a band that tackles a lot of weighty themes, they're very conceptual. You seem like very conceptual, intellectual type people. Is it tough to kind of reconcile that with making fun music people are supposed to dance to and like rock their bodies with? Like, is it tough to get out of your own heads and get into that space where you're like doing that sort of making pop music?
He didn't go to high school.
I didn't go to high school.
Really?
We're just a
Yeah.
bunch of dum-dums.
I wouldn't have guessed that.
You're not a dum-dum. I'm a dum-dum.
No, I mean, pop music can be really intellectual. There's no reason why pop music can't be smart. A pop song hook is like one of the most efficient, tailored ways of communicating a unit of information that like the human species has ever devised. So, we don't necessarily see there being a distinction between pop, high and low or whatever. I think you make a powerful message and you stick it in a pop hook, which is not an easy thing to craft. And you have like a targeted virus essentially, and that is a really powerful thing.
For those who don't know, one of the reasons I asked that is Claire, in addition to being a great musician, also is a very smart science writer who's written from a number of places, including Grantland, rest in peace.
R.I.P.
But Yacht isn't just about music. You're sort of like a conceptual entity involved in lots of different things, one of which is almost getting more famous in the band, 5 Every Day, which is... Tell me about it. It's this application for how to do fun things in Los Angeles.
Yes, we made an app. It's true. It's called 5 Every Day. It's only really for people living in Los Angeles. Sorry, unless you want to give us money to make it in New York, in which case, please. It just recommends 5 interesting things to do in LA every day, handpicked and written about by a human person that cares about Los Angeles.
It's algorithm free.
Algorithm free. Proudly algorithm free. That's our big tagline.
It's not crowdsourced. It's just us choosing things for Los Angeles every day.
Yeah, it's our way of uplifting the things that we love in LA and trying to point out, I think living in Los Angeles, you tend to kind of glaze over a lot of the history of the city and a lot of what's going on behind the windshield. And we try to, it's a platform for us to point out what is going on in the city and point people that are new to the city to what's interesting about it. Because LA, I mean, just based on your like definition of it earlier, I think people just tend to find it a bit alienating if they don't know where to go. And so that's Five Every Day it's not like that, you know. Five Every Day shows the warmth of Los Angeles is the hope.
And speaking of like outside projects, one of the things, or not outside projects, but extra musical activities, one of the things you did for this album to promote it was you faxed your artwork, or you told your fans where various fax centers were where they could pick up the artwork. How did this idea come about, and why fax machines in 2015?
Well,
it was like a scavenger hunt, right?
It was kind of like, yeah, it was basically, I don't know.
We built a web app,
Yeah.
and so you could either send the fax to any FedEx, Kinko's, Staples, or anywhere where there's a retail outlet that had faxes available for people, or you could just enter in a number manually. So like if you work in an office that has a fax machine, you could also receive a fax there. And then we chose fax machines because, one, they're this dormant technology that it's kind of ubiquitous. It's kind of everywhere, but no one thinks about it or likes them or really uses them that often.
Yeah,
Although
I mean,
in
if
Japan,
you fax, it's because you have to send a fax for
Yeah.
some reason. It's not
They're-
because you want to.
they're big in Japan.
They're
but
big in
not-
Japan.
Not here. And also we wanted to unveil the album art in a fun and weird way. And the way that fax machines process images is really interesting and unique to fax machines.
Yeah, it was also kind of an issue of creating like manufactured scarcity because, you know, I mean, it's not like nothing is news anymore if for artists. It's like, oh, here's my album art. Like that's not news. It just disappears from the feed as soon as it's there because everything's moving so quickly and there's so much other input. So, you know, a beautiful high-res image can just be a blip and it can be reproduced infinitely as soon as it's released. But something that there's a limited amount of physical things you have to go pick up in real life at a place. You have to have an experience to go get it. We just wanted to create an experience that would be limited for people as opposed to something that would just be there and then gone the next day.
And it was an edition of only 300, so each fax was individually numbered.
And how did your fans react? Did they manage to find all 300?
They loved it. It was
Yeah.
the best,
It was
actually. We
quick. It
kind of
happened
weren't
fast.
sure. We were like, oh, God, no one's going to come pick up these faxes. No one wants to go to Staples and pick up a fax.
300 seemed really ambitious at first, but then
They were gone in a few hours. People made it happen. We had so many great stories of people just going to the Staples or the FedEx and the person behind the counter being like, we have a fax machine? Oh, yeah, I guess we do. Let me go look. Oh, wow. You know, like.
A couple kids emailed us and they were like, I plugged it in, but it's not working. This is my dad's fax machine. I don't know what's going on. It was great.
Yeah, it was amazing, actually, like our younger fans, and I didn't even think about this part of it, but that they had never used a fax machine before. They completely missed that window of technology. And so for them, it was kind of magic. And I remember having that experience as like a 13-year-old playing a record for the first time from my dad's collection and being like, what? This makes a sound? You know, and there is something like we forget that some technologies have those like kind of magical qualities because we think of them as being mundane or old or retro or something. But, you know, a fax machine's amazing. It's communication of an image via sound, which, you know, is appropriate.
There's something kind of charmingly quaint about it.
Yeah.
Totes.
And so for another thing you did for this album was you wrote a track listicle, where for every song you gave a description of what was it about, be it police brutality or economic inequality, coupled with a GIF. And now many people will gladly tell you that listicles and GIFs and BuzzFeed are like symbolic of the dumbing down of society, the no-calorie content. But, you know, some people, you made it work for you to get your message out there.
Yeah, I mean, it was tongue-in-cheek, of course. We were trying to subvert the medium, you know, or like kind of play ball in a way that would allow us to, you know, make an explicit and hopefully nuanced commentary about our own music in a format that would be digestible, you know, for the audiences that were used to getting their content in little bites. There is, of course, also the other end of the spectrum for us, which is that we will write stupidly long texts and needlessly arcane annotations, and we'll make things that are way too complicated for modern audiences, but we'll also try to do things that are really simple at the same time. We're into playing with both ends of these.
Yeah, it's kind of what you do. You have to take these really heady concepts and figure out a way to like get it in a 3-minute pop song that's hopefully fun.
Yes, 140 characters or less, right?
Now, have you always been interested in this sort of thing? You said you didn't go to high school, but have environmentalism, the way technology alienates us, has this always been a concern of yours?
Yeah, I think we've always been, I mean, this guy, John is a computer. I don't know if you know that.
I didn't know you were a computer.
He is. Was born a computer. And so so technology has always been a really huge part of our band. I mean, Yacht started as Jonna kicking a laptop around, trying to be punk, using a computer, and I've been a science writer for over 10 years. So yeah, these are issues that we really care about. I don't think it's particularly exotic to be interested in technology or to be interested in the future. That's kind of like, that's the mix that we're all in right now. You know, I think we're always talking about our relationship to technology and how it changes our relationship to each other. It's a very common point of conversation, I think, and it's also something that is unifying for a lot of people. You know, we all have that in common in a way. Even though it's alienating, it's kind of nice that we have something we can talk about, even if it's like, Facebook.
Yeah. When you do things like this, do you feel like the message is out there and people understand what you're saying, or is it more just noise for people to have to cut through?
Honestly, I think that when it comes down to it, like the real moments of connection that we have with people, where we can like discover that something actually had an effect out there, is still playing shows. It's still what it's always been, which is like being in a dark room with others in a moment in time. That is unchangingly still the most powerful form of connection we have access to as musicians.
And now, speaking of technology and reaching people, a lot of people don't know this, but back in the day, you used to run a Weezer fan forum, right?
God.
That's so great that you brought that up.
Yeah, I used to run a Weezer fan website. Yeah.
What was it called?
It was called Geek Rock Love.
It wasn't just a fan website. It was the #2 largest fan website.
Yeah, one time Geffen sent me a box of records. Whatever.
Really? Is that true?
Real big deal. Yeah, I still don't know how they got my address. But no, yeah, I was a really big Weezer fan when I was a teenager. Thank you for bringing that up in this context. I really
You're very
appreciate
welcome.
that.
The good albums. The good albums.
Yeah, obviously the good
Obviously.
albums. You know, but for what it's worth, I think that like this is a kind of like really specific moment in time kind of thing, but I think Weezer fan culture in the late 90s was like one of those like kind of flashpoint internet cultures. There was like a really robust message board scene, and I had a lot of like internet friends, and my first boyfriend was an internet friend I met on like a Weezer message board, and it was for me like the first time in my life where I realized I could connect powerfully with others, like based on a niche interest using the internet. So in that sense, I think it was somewhat prescient of what the rest of my life would be like.
At one point when you're on the message board, even like the band's album starts sucking, you have all your friends, it doesn't matter anymore.
The crazy thing is I went to like a Rentals concert 6 years ago, and then afterwards I was like, I wonder what happened to all those Weezer message board friends I had, and I found the message board and they were all still there, and it had been like 15 years.
Amazing.
They were all just like, hey, what's up? You know, like using the same usernames, and I like made a thread, and I was like, does anybody remember me? And they all did, and it was just made me feel so guilty in a weird way.
Because you left them?
Yeah, because I had left them and this community had continued.
All right, so I think it's time for the audience Q&A. Does anyone have any questions? Just raise your hands.
Also, if you need help with computers, we can do like Genius Bar stuff up here.
Hi, this is for Claire. Being a science journalist, do you believe the singularity will actually happen? And what do you think? How do you think it'll affect music? How you make music?
I like the whole the word I don't know, like the singularity as a thing, and like the whole sort of Kurzweil thing. I'm not on that boat, but I do believe that artificial intelligence is like artificial superintelligence will be like the most important thing to happen in the history of humanity, and it will probably happen in the next 50 years. I believe that. I think when it comes to art, it scares me, but at the same time, I think the one thing that human beings can definitely do that separates us from the machines is like make art, hopefully. So maybe they'll keep us around just to do some, tap dancing for them or something.
You know what I love thinking about, though, is a computer algorithmically finding like the most pleasing sound ever.
This is a trip he's been on.
Computer music that just like makes your brain explode. That sounds great to me.
Because there's like brown sound, whatever. There are frequencies that make your body do certain things. So they get it. They're tittering. They get it.
Yeah.
So are there frequencies that make, that are perfectly pleasing for a human being? And would an artificial intelligence be kind enough to create that for us? That would be nice.
We'll see.
Over there.
Thank you. Now that I know that you guys are really into kind of tech, I wanted to ask a blockchain-related question.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I work for a company called Monograph that deals with blockchain and music, and I just want to know kind of the future of where you see blockchain going in terms of how it's going to work with SoundCloud, licensing. I know it's a full-winded question, but maybe a one-sentence answer.
Yeah. Let's just say yes. No, our friend, can we talk about our friend, I guess?
Yeah, but do you even understand what he does?
Not exactly.
Frankly, it's a little bit above us, above our pay grade.
Yeah.
Everyone seems to think it's very important. We have a friend who's
We have a friend
working
who's-
in blockchain for personal finance issues, and it's like, it seems like that's the future, but I'm not quite sure.
Yeah.
Maybe we can talk about it afterwards and you can finally explain to us.
Our friend is the world's first publicly traded human being. So you can invest in him and then as a shareholder vote on decisions he makes in his life. From as banal as like what he eats for breakfast to like should he get a vasectomy or not. And so
And-
he's taken this concept and now applied it in sort of like a Kickstarter way where they're now funding businesses. 'Cause Oregon passed some new law, so this takes place in Oregon. If you're an Oregon small business, now anyone can invest in your business, and it's not like a Kickstarter where you get like a reward back or anything
It's
like
like
that.
you
It's-
actually get equity in the company
yeah,
legally.
and they're using blockchain for that. So that's actually the first, our first knowledge of blockchain, which is now very limited. So I don't know. Yes.
Hey,
Hey.
Hi.
I guess my question is more for the visual side of things. You guys obviously put a lot of effort into that. What's the process there? Does the music kind of inspire the visuals, or does it all come together as a package? How do you go about that?
Great question. It depends. Sometimes we'll have a vision for what something is going to look like fairly early in the process of making the song, and the two things will develop simultaneously. We like to create kind of design rules for ourselves for each album, and sometimes even each single. There'll be like a totally different identity that everything kind of has to hew to, which is helpful for us, like to produce graphics quickly and regularly. But also we like compartmentalizing things. I usually identify them as points in history of our own history.
Mm-hmm.
Jana does 99.9% of our design.
And motion graphics and stuff, and videos and stuff like that too. But yeah, a lot of the time it changes too. Like for this record, this wasn't going to be the cover. I drew a sketch of this idea of Claire as like a figure with 6 arms, which is now like an alternate image we have behind the CD on the CD packaging only. But yeah, sometimes we have a very strong idea that over time will change, and sometimes it's because of the music or because like this image was an accident when we did the photo shoot in Los Angeles. But yeah, that's the process. There's no real process. It's just kind of by the seat of our pants.
I mean, everything issues forth into the world from the same 2 computers, essentially. So it's like we're like finishing, like recording and producing things in another tab. We're making the graphics, so it's kind of inevitable that those things are going to inform one another.
And for this record, we worked with a type designer that's a
Yeah,
friend of
that's
ours
good.
that we really love, named Ian Lynham, who lives in Japan. And we designed 2 typefaces that we're using just for everything now.
One of the typefaces, fun fact, the serif typeface, this is so nerdy. The serif typeface is actually designed to look like what Asian character sets rendering Roman characters do on accident, which is like messed up kerning and like weird, just like doesn't quite look right. Our typeface is simulating that because we like playing with those kinds of things.
That's informed by the music and everything, because we kind of see our band as something that isn't perfect, and that we insert like mistakes or we like let mistakes live on purpose. So we wanted the typeface to reflect that. So everything it's all one story together for us.
Cool. Thank you guys so much for coming out. Thank you all.
Thanks, guys.